Good morning, everyone. When we think of Keanu Reeves, we often think of fame, success, and quiet strength. But behind the movies and the spotlight is a man who has faced loss, loneliness, and pain, yet chose humility, kindness, and self-reliance. Keanu Reeves once showed us that true strength is not about needing someone to complete you, but about standing whole on your own. Today, I want to talk about overcoming the mindset of, I need you to survive. That moment when we realize that dependence can turn into weakness, and self-growth begins when we learn to say, I choose you, but I don't need you to be complete. This speech is about learning to stand alone, grow stronger, and become enough for ourselves, just like Keanu Reeves quietly has. I used to believe that needing someone was proof of love, that the tightness in my chest when they walked away meant something sacred was happening, that the fear of being alone was a sign that I was alive. I confused attachment with meaning. I confused presence with purpose. Somewhere along the way, I need you stopped being a sentence and became a cage. It whispered to me in quiet moments and shouted at me in the dark, telling me that without someone else's approval, touch, or attention, I would collapse into nothing. And for a long time, I believed it. I believed that my strength was borrowed, that my value arrived only when someone else showed up to confirm it, that my existence required witnesses to be real. The truth is, I need you often sounds gentle, but it can grow sharp edges. It can turn into a demand, a silent contract written in fear. It can turn love into leverage. When you need someone to fill the space where your own foundation should be, you don't stand beside them, you lean on them. And leaning feels safe until the ground shifts, until they get tired, until they change, until life does what life always does and reminds you that nothing external is permanent. That's when the panic starts, not because they left, but because you don't know who you are without them holding you up. I had to sit with that discomfort. I had to ask myself why silence felt so loud when no one was there to hear me breathe, why stillness felt like abandonment, why being alone felt like failure instead of freedom. The answers weren't flattering. They pointed back to every moment I avoided myself, every time I chose distraction over understanding, every time I handed my sense of worth to someone else and called it love. It was easier to say I need you than to say I don't yet know how to stand on my own. There's a quiet kind of courage required to stop needing, not the loud, chest-out bravery people celebrate, but the slow, patient courage of staying when it would be easier to escape into someone else, staying with your thoughts, staying with your doubts, staying with the version of yourself you've been running from. You begin to notice things in that stillness. You notice how often you seek permission to exist, how often you shape yourself into something more acceptable, how often you shrink your truth to keep someone close. Needing teaches you to negotiate with yourself, to trade pieces of your authenticity for reassurance. When you stop needing, something uncomfortable happens first. The world feels colder, messages go unanswered, rooms feel bigger, nights stretch longer. You reach for your phone out of habit, not because there's something to say, but because you don't want to feel the weight of your own company. That weight is not emptiness. It's density. It's the presence of everything you postponed dealing with, grief you tucked away, anger you softened to stay likable, dreams you delayed because they didn't fit someone else's expectations. Being alone doesn't create these things, it reveals them. I learned that independence is not isolation. It's not cutting people off or pretending you don't care. It's not hardening yourself until nothing touches you. Independence is the ability to remain intact whether someone stays or goes. It's knowing that connection is a choice, not a requirement for survival. When you no longer need, you can finally see people clearly. You stop turning them into solutions. You stop assigning them the job of saving you from yourself. You let them be human, flawed, temporary, real. There is relief in that clarity. Relationships breathe better when they're not carrying the weight of your identity. Conversations change when you're not fishing for validation. Love feels different when it's offered, not begged for. You start listening instead of clinging. You start giving without calculating what you'll get back. You stop keeping score because your sense of worth is no longer tied to the outcome. You realize that needing someone often sounds like devotion, but it's rooted in fear. Choosing someone is rooted in strength. I remember the first time I said silently, "I don't need you," and meant it without bitterness. It didn't come from anger or disappointment. It came from understanding that my life had weight before anyone stepped into it, that my breath had rhythm before anyone matched it, that my path existed before anyone walked beside me, saying it didn't push people away. It brought me back to myself. It gave me room to stand upright instead of hunched over someone else's approval. The strange thing is, when you stop needing, you don't lose people the way you think you will. Some leave, yes, those who were attached to your dependence, those who needed to be needed. Their absence hurts, but it also clarifies. Others stay, and the connection deepens because it's no longer fueled by fear, it's fueled by respect. They meet you at eye level instead of holding you up. The relationship becomes a place you visit, not a place you hide. There is a discipline to this way of living. You have to catch yourself when the old patterns try to return, when loneliness disguises itself as urgency, when nostalgia pretends to be love, when comfort tries to convince you that settling is safer than growing. You learn to pause before reaching out, to ask yourself whether you're sharing or escaping, whether you're connecting or numbing. That pause is where freedom lives. It's uncomfortable, but it's honest. Over time, the sentence changes. I need you becomes I want you here. And that difference is ever. I think want is spacious. It allows for choice on both sides. It allows for absence without collapse. It allows for growth without guilt. When you want someone, you invite them. When you need someone, you trap both of you. One becomes responsible for the other's stability. Resentment grows quietly in that imbalance. Love doesn't survive long under obligation. I started to build routines that belonged only to me. Not to impress anyone, not to be admired, just to be solid, simple things. Walking without headphones, sitting with a cup of coffee, and letting my mind wander without judgment. Finishing tasks I used to postpone because no one was watching. Keeping promises to myself even when no one would know if I broke them. Each small act stitched something stronger inside me, a sense of reliability, a trust in my own presence. As that trust grew, the fear softened. Silence stopped feeling like punishment. Solitude stopped feeling like rejection. I began to understand that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is the feeling of being disconnected from yourself. Once that connection is restored, being alone can feel full, even rich. You hear your own voice again, not the one shaped by expectation, but the one that speaks when there's nothing to perform. The world doesn't reward this kind of strength loudly. There are no medals for emotional self-sufficiency, no applause for choosing restraint over reaction. But there is peace in it, a steady kind of peace that doesn't spike and crash depending on who shows up. You stop living on emotional credit. You stop borrowing happiness from tomorrow or from someone else's attention. You live within your means, emotionally speaking, and that stability changes how you move through everything. You become slower to attach, but quicker to appreciate. You stop chasing intensity and start valuing consistency. You notice who respects your boundaries without argument, who listens without trying to fix you, who can sit with you in silence without reaching for distractions. These connections feel quieter, but they last. They don't demand constant reassurance. They don't threaten to leave every time there's discomfort. They're built on the understanding that both people can stand on their own. Letting go of "I need you" doesn't make you colder. It makes you clearer. You feel pain when things end, but the pain doesn't erase you. You grieve without losing your footing. You miss without diminishing yourself. You remember without romanticizing what was actually unhealthy. Memory becomes honest instead of selective. You stop rewriting the past to avoid facing the present. There is a moment, subtle but profound, when you realize you are no longer afraid of being left, not because you believe everyone will stay, but because you know you will. You trust yourself to remain present through loss, change, and uncertainty. That trust is quiet power. It doesn't dominate rooms. It doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists, steady and unshakable, influencing every choice you make. From that place, love becomes something you give, not something you grasp. You show up because you want to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't. You speak honestly because you're not negotiating your worth. You walk away when something diminishes you, not with drama, but with clarity. You understand that staying in situations that require you to be smaller is a form of self-abandonment. I need you fades not into indifference, but into something more mature, more grounded. It becomes I am whole, and I choose to share this space with you. That choice is renewed daily, not enforced by fear. It allows love to be dynamic instead of desperate. It allows two complete lives to intersect without erasing each other. And in that understanding, you move through the world differently. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you react. You carry yourself with a kind of calm that doesn't seek attention. People feel it even if they can't name it. It's the calm of someone who knows they can lose without disappearing, who can care without clinging, who can stand alone without closing their heart, who has learned that the most important relationship they will ever have is the one they maintain when no one else is around, when there is no one to lean on, no one to impress, no one to save them from themselves, only the quiet certainty that they are enough to remain present, to keep moving, to keep choosing, to keep living, without needing to be held together by someone else's hands.